mediation, our intervention must go beyond financial. It must be financial as well as non-financial. And, looking at that, our SME development program has 4 strategic pillars. And I'm going to explain to you what these pillars involve. So the first is financing, where we will be providing direct and intermediated financing to SMEs. For direct financing, this will be large-scale SMEs that can access direct financing from the bank, because I will not mince words and I will not tell you what we can do or cannot do. We may not be able to lend to SMEs that require funding below $5 million. But how would we support these SMEs? We want to do this through intermediated lending. The intermediated lending we want to do this time around is going to be different from what we've traditionally done. Normally, we've naturally given lines of credit to commercial, both SMEs and corporate. It's to lend to bespoke banks that support SMEs. And one of them was the Consolidated Bank of Ghana, Ghana Commercial Bank, and the bank in Gambia, Bloom Bank in Ghana, who already have bespoke products for SMEs. Those are going to be the banks that we will be collaborating with. And we'll be giving them financing to on-lend to SMEs. And the SMEs they'll be on-lending to will be SMEs in clusters and will be SMEs across various value chains. Oh, thank you. Oh, you make me laugh. Yeah, so it will be SMEs in clusters and SMEs across various value chains. Another thing we'll be doing critically is capacity building. So one thing we've identified is that while we are going to be providing lending to both, large-scale SMEs and the small-scale SMEs through intermediated lending, we will also be providing capacity building for these SMEs. We want to train them. We want to support them. We want to provide them with opportunities to access cutting-edge technology. We want to provide them with trade information access. We have our trade information portal developed in the bank. We have a trade information unit, full-fledged, ready to support and assist SMEs. We want to also be able to, provide the market access, like I mentioned, through our trade information and links to export trading companies that the bank is already collaborating with various companies across the continent to create. Another thing we want to do is policy and advocacy. We know that SMEs don't operate in isolation. You are a part of an ecosystem. You are a part of a country. And we know that if the policies and regulations of these our respective countries are still not supportive of your business, there's no way you will thrive. There's no way we are going to create the next Asian tigers. There's no way we are going to replicate China or India or Singapore or Indonesia if we don't have policies that can support you. So one of the key things we'll be focusing on is also policy and advocacy. Please, can you change the slide? So looking at the SMEs that we are targeting to support, I just want you to look at this and have your mind at rest, that we do not intend to leave anyone out. We will be supporting Tier 1 SMEs. Those are the ones I term emerging corporates, and sometimes they are also called digital scale-ups. They are companies that have been able to access technology and have been able to, start the growth, the growth stage of, sometimes when you start a company, you start from a place, you service a community, you go to a country before you go out. But there are these large digital scale-ups that from their inception, they are able to offer their services to multiple countries. And they are able to grow at a very fast rate that they don't even qualify to be termed SMEs anymore. So they are now lost in the middle. They are not SMEs and they are not international corporates. They are what we call digital scale-ups. We've identified them as people we can support and use in promoting intra-African trade. Then we have emerging corporates. These are corporates that are breaking boundaries. They've accessed their Ghana, and they're thinking, I think my services are needed in Burkina Faso. I think some people need me in Mali, but I don't know how to go there. I don't know how to access this. This is where Afreximbank comes in. So if you remember what Eric was saying earlier, we are not competing with local banks. We are there to take on these emerging banks and no longer support their expansion across multiple jurisdictions. Then we have the tier 2 SMEs. They are SMEs that, operate in at least priority sectors that we support, and they operate in maybe supply chain or export-related services. So they are the second type of SMEs we are supporting. And the third type of SMEs we are supporting are startups and micro enterprises. From everything I've said to you, you can see that we are not leaving anybody out in our support. However, how we intervene in support of these tiers are different. While we may lend directly to the tier 1 SMEs, for the tier 2s and tier 3s, we will be on lending to them through identified intermediaries. And this intermediary is going to be different from our normal trade finance intermediaries because we are going to be terming them SME intermediaries. We are going to be supporting them. We are going to be helping them, even these banks, train and upskill them to be able to provide lending to SMEs, because that's another thing we've noted. A lot of the times, the banks don't just not want to lend because they don't like you. Sometimes it's also their own skill gap. How do I structure a transaction without asking for collateral? How do I make it a liquidated self-liquidating transaction? Sometimes they don't know. But when we train them, capacitate them, and teach them on how to do these things, it makes it easier for them to lend to you. So these are some of the things we are doing. So apart from providing capacity building support to you, we would also be providing capacity building support to the SMEs that we want to lend to lend to you. Can you change the slide? Oh, just before you change the slide, previous slide, I want to also focus on target beneficiaries, emerging corporates, export-oriented SMEs, digital scale-ups, youth and women entrepreneurs, organized clusters, and the creative sector. A colleague of mine will come up later to talk about the creative sector, but it's a major focus of our intervention under the SME development program. Please, can you change the slide? So just looking at our channels of credit operations, intermediated lending, like I said, we'll be looking at commercial banks, regional DFIs, microfinance institutions, licensed finance houses with SME focus, non-bank financial institutions focused on credit sector, and fintechs. Fintechs with a focus on SMEs. We realize that fintechs are really doing a lot in terms of supporting SMEs in some jurisdictions. For example, in Nigeria, in Ghana, in Kenya, we've noticed that some fintechs have a lot of clients or suppliers that they provide financing to. So we are going to be working with some of these to support them in providing financing to their SMEs. Then the direct lending, like I mentioned, will be to digital scale-ups, emerging corporates, and organized clusters or cooperatives. These are the things we've planned. Next slide. What are you doing? That's the question. The real thing in your mind, as you were looking at me, talking, you are thinking, what are they going to be offering? Well, it's going to be trade finance, SME finance, credit guarantee, supply chain finance, and equity-linked finance. So these are the things that we'll be offering. These are the things that are already in the works with the bank. And like I said to you before, we want to look at this in a different way. It's not going to be a run-of-the-mill intermediated lending. It's going to be looking at supporting SMEs across supply chain, value chain, looking at their needs. It could be receivables-backed financing. It could be, looking at the supply chain finance, structuring it as such. It could be venture funding, where we look at some SMEs and decide to take stake in them through our subsidiary company, the Fund for Export Development in Africa. So this is what the bank has in works for you. Where are we right now? We have received our board approvals to move ahead with this product. And what we are doing now is codifying and getting it ready to be launched as products. And we have even started shortlisting the financial intermediaries we'll be working with. Because like I mentioned to you, we are terming them SME finance intermediaries. We are not in the realm of Madam Uju will come down here later to talk to you. We are looking at real bespoke intermediaries that we will be on lending to be able to reach SMEs. And capacity building is going to be a major focus for us. We are going to be having an incubation program. We are going to be connecting with various stakeholders to see how we can support in terms of capacity building, in terms of, upscaling, in terms of being able to connect SMEs to corporates within the bank that operate in multiple jurisdictions. So also linking these SMEs to some of these intra-chams as suppliers are going to be things we'll be looking at too. And one of the things we are going to also have is an online platform, semi-clinic, that you can go in on our website and access and have some small tools that can help you on how do I access a bank loan? How do I talk to a bank officer about financing needs? How do I develop a business plan? So many on the tip of your finger toolkits to support you are things that we are coming up with. So I just want you to know that we have not forgotten the SME sector. And even though right now we have said consistently, oh, we do support SMEs, but we do this through intermediated lending, I want you to know that the bank has to revamp and come up with this. For us, if industrialization is going to happen in Africa, we can't afford to let loose or lose focus on the SMEs. If we do that, we have failed, and we don't fail. We are not associated with failure. Afreximbank succeeds, and succeeds all the time. So I would bring this to a close and wait to take your questions because I have other slides. But I decided this wasn't my plan, actually. Let me just be honest and frank. When I came here, I wanted to come and talk to you about project financing, export development, the lovely, cushy, things. But when I had some of your feedback from the first section, you guys want to know if there's anything we are doing about SMEs. And I said to myself, then I'm going to bring this up and talk to you. Afreximbank never leaves anyone behind. We are thinking of you, and we are working to make sure we can serve you. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Madame Doherty. Thank you very much. Just by way of asking, are you from Sierra Leone? Oh, from Sierra Leone. Oh, okay for me to ask, how the body? We fumble that. Oh. You are my family. Aku? Nothing. Please put your hands together one more time. So, coming forth immediately on the back of this presentation, I was to our sister to also share with us stage of this whole engagement. Leveraging Afreximbank and the AFTA for export development finance and facilitation. But right now, let's move straight to facilities. To do that for us, Mrs. Uju Okafor is the Senior Manager, Trade Finance, Afreximbank. Please welcome her warmly. A round of applause. Something special before you do your presentation. It will keep them very awake. Do a little raffle, okay? Mr. Okafor, would you be kind as to choose the first winner? They are rigging the election.
Why are you adding after I've chosen? Don't worry.
Okay. So the winner, we have two prizes at stake.
Okay, so the winner here is catering services.
Put your hands together for International Catering
ICS.
Services. Are they here? Oh, I pray they don't miss the rapture. Okay, the next.
They're not here.
We skip.
Okay, so we have MGL Naturals.
MGL Naturals. Please bring your certificate. Congratulations.
Don't sleep.
All right, the second.
So we have old hair butter.
O glass shea butter.
They're sitting together.
Electoral commissioner.
They're sitting
They were
together.
sitting together.
Don't sleep.
Shall we allow?
Wake up. Collect your money. Collect your money. Sleep. Wake up. Collect your money. Wake up. Tera. 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 Mula. Wake up. Kala.
I was already dancing. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm going to be very, very brief with this. I'm using my laptop because I have 6 I wanted to, you know. All right, so today on Afreximbank Trade Finance, just as I mean, you've heard it all today. So for us in trade finance in Afrex is different from your regular trade finance that you're used to. So our own trade finance is not just about short-term trade, that to short-term, to medium-term, and to long-term as well. Please, you can just move the slide. So that's what the trade finance horizon covers in Afreximbank. And of course, who are the beneficiaries? We have the financial institutions, we have the sovereigns, and these are really our major channels to products across the continent. And of course, we have qualifying corporates that we support across all various sectors in the economy. We have the trade finance department. The way we are structured, we're structured amongst clusters. So we have the sovereign and the corporate cluster, which I head in the bank. And then we have the structured trade, commodity, and finance cluster. And then we have supply chain, factoring, and forfeiting cluster. So the way we are structured also tells you that we have some differences in the tenor, in the structure as well. Now I'm going to just, can you please, let's go to the next slide. So I'm going to be talking about a number of our products. I'll try not to, I know Eric had touched on some of them this morning, so I'll just talk about a few of them. Now we have the direct financing program. It's one of our very key instruments that we use in finance. Here we provide direct loans directly to banks, to corporates who meet the criteria. Now, what criteria do you need to meet to be for you to be eligible for a direct financing? We look at companies that have 3 years in existence, 3 years audited financials. We look at companies that have a balance sheet size of minimum $2 million equivalent, and also you have $10 million. And that's why our director of export development just did a presentation on SME. So this is just to say we're not leaving even the SMEs behind. Now, for even corporates that do not qualify for direct financing, they are also not left behind, even if they are in between SME and the large corporates. So what we do is we can channel the facilities through the banks, who now on lend to such corporates. And we'll talk more about that when we get about the line of credit facility. So another thing that we do is the asset-based lending program. Our CEO Erica touched on it earlier on, and this came because of really there's a lot of privatization going on around the African countries. There's this drive increase indigenous participation in their economies, and they want to be able to take advantage of this privatization and to promote local content. I mean, that's the talk in the continent, as you know. So we came up with this, the asset-based lending program, where we look at oil and gas services, where they have demand for vessels. We have the mining services. They have demand for very heavy equipment. There's aircraft. There's demand for that. And so those are the things that we consider when we do our asset-based lending. And because of the specialized nature of this, one feature it has is that the assets can actually serve as a good collateral, because you know that when you're lending in such things, the assets normally grow with inflation as well. So we can accept them. They are usually accepted as the collateral when you're doing some asset-based funding. Another one I want to touch up with quickly is where we have invoice and receivable discounting facility. So this is where basically we come on and we purchase or we sell the receivables on a without recourse basis, and usually this would be guaranteed by a local. This is very useful when we're talking about service contracts. We have a lot of individuals who have contracts, corporates who have contracts, like with the you have contracts with Shell, you have contracts with MTN. We know that all these companies have their repayment periods. They have a program for repayment. You do the contract, you submit the paper. Sometimes it maybe takes 2 months to process payment. And here we come in. So what we do here is we give you a facility. We able to discount that the invoice that you have. We make liquidity available to you. You can move on to the next invoice, to the next contract from this large corporates that you've done contracts with. And then we have the note purchase program, where we provide to corporates like you. We can purchase their promissory notes. Usually they may be avalized or guaranteed by any of the local bank, but in this case the purchase is always done with recourse to the issuer. So these are some of the products that I wanted to talk about. Okay, then we have the future flow pre-finance program, which Erica touched up earlier as well. So for this now, we're looking at transactions, financial flow transactions. That's what we're looking at. So we structure the such a way that the receivables that will come for repayments are not coming from whatever you're importing. Maybe you're importing a fiscal asset or whatever you're doing, but the receivables are coming, they're alienated from what we are funding. Now, from the receivables, we're looking at maybe migrant remittances, we're looking at overflight fees, we're looking at mining royalties. This usually comes very handy when we're dealing with maybe governments, or maybe we're dealing with banks. So, and the whole intention is that we are able to package and structure something that is reasonably priced to the company. And then again, we have what we call the counter-cyclical trade liquidity program. I will touch on this later, but this actually came up when we were doing, I think it was 2015, when we had commodity shock in the continent. There was this commodity crisis in 2015, and Afreximbank rose up to the occasion. We came up with this counter-cyclical trade liquidity program, where we provided trade finance liquidity to banks. We also provided to selected commercial banks as well, and corporates. By way they were able to bridge the gap at that time. And for countries, when that shock actually took place in 2015, what again we witnessed was a lot of devaluation in currencies of African countries. So the counter-cyclical trade liquidity program came up to enable these countries, to enable the corporate cycle out of this crisis. So that's just a few of the products that I think I can touch on. So let's now move on. Please, let's have the next slide. The next slide, please, if you can go to the specialized programs. Yes, thank you. So I want to touch on, there's some specialized programs and initiatives that we do in trade finance. These are specialized because they're specific to a purpose, they're specific to an event, and so let me just touch upon it. The line of credit program is about. Now, this is an avenue where we use this to give credit to banks, and these banks, on the back of this credit, this finance that these banks receive, they are able to now use it to finance their own clients. Now, this is where they're able to reach those small clients or those small companies who do not meet up to our criteria for lending. So we do the line of credit facility to them, and they can use it to on-lend to their own clients and also be able to solve the needs. So as you see, there's nobody that is being left off. And what we normally do, the products that can come in under the line of credit program is the letter of credit confirmation and refinancing, and then we also have funding for financial institutions, which I mentioned. The pricing is linked to LIBOR, but soon to transition to SOFR. We're in that phase at the moment, and hopefully in coming weeks we should fully transition to SOFR. Then I want to touch up on the Afreximbank Trade Facilitation Program, which we call AFTRAF. Please, you can move to the next two slides, which we call AFTRAF. So what you see is that in the continent, in Africa, the trade finance gap keeps increasing. When you think you've closed it a bit, some distortion comes, some crisis comes, the gap widens. The international banks, they exit or they cut lines. And this has been going on, and what we did as Afreximbank was we leveraged on our credit rating and our supranational status to bridge the gap. And then we unlocked capital to support trade finance business in Africa. So the first thing we did was to set up a full functional trade services department. We set that up, and then we now created the Afreximbank Trade Facilitation Program, which is called AFTRAF. This was done in August 2018. And the main purpose of creating the AFTRAF facility, the AFTRAF program, is to enhance confidence of counterparties in settlement of international trade transactions for intra-Africa and extra-Africa trade. Now, under the AFTRAF, we have 5 specific products under the AFTRAF. The first product that I want to talk about is the LC confirmation facility with optional discounting or refinancing. So under the LC confirmation facility, Afreximbank is able to add confirmation to letters of credit issued by African banks, African financial institutions, and then they also have an option to discount the LC in favor of the beneficiary. Now, a number of banks in Africa already have it. As of today, we have approved 176 banks in 38 countries in Africa. This program was launched in 2018, and last year, December, utilization, cumulative utilization was over $1.2 billion in 1 year, in last year. This shows you the demand for this product. Now, there are a lot of businesses here. There are times you want to import things and you walk to your bank, you want them to open an LC so that you're able to bring in goods, or you're able to bring in raw materials, or you're able to bring in equipment. Now, from today, if you walk into your bank to open this LC and they tell you they are unable to do so, please ask them if they have a line with Afreximbank. If they do not have a line with Afreximbank, please engage Oakwood Green. They are going to facilitate it and put that line in place. You know, our president, and I'm sure our RTO has said it, we need to start having African solution to African problems. You're not going to be waiting for an international bank to come and confirm your LC when you have Afreximbank there. So please, if you don't know, today you know. I think this is one part of the after facility that is suited to SMEs, that suited to the audience here. But we go on. The next product we have is the bank-to-bank reimbursement undertaking facility. And here it enables us as Afreximbank to issue an irrevocable reimbursement undertaking on the request of an African bank. So certain times you also might have some LCs to issue, or maybe the banks, they have some LCs to issue, and it may be that the beneficiary wants a specific bank, or it may be that you want to do it through that beneficiary, however it is. Maybe there are no limits, or maybe they are unable to for anything. What we do with the bank is the bank contacts us, that's your local bank here, and asks us to issue the IRU. We issue it, and the beneficiary is taking Afreximbank risk because, you know, we're investment grade. So the issue with your local bank or with whatever issue is dealt with. And then we have the promissory notes and bill of exchange. And this is where we are able as a bank to avalize promissory notes or bill of exchange that are issued, you know, by other African banks. If, for instance, maybe there's a contract or there's something, and they tell your bank to issue a promissory note, Afreximbank can guarantee it, will be able to avalize it. Now, all this, then we have the bonds, guarantees, and indemnities, where we issue these instruments on behalf of other banks as well. These instruments are like bid bonds, like performance bonds, advance payment guarantees. Sometimes you're bidding for contracts and you're required to bring this. So Afreximbank would also be able to issue this under the AFTRAF program. Now, all these facilities I've talked about, they all have tenor door-to-door 360 days. Then we come to the last product, which is the trade confirmation guarantee facility, where we're able to guarantee on behalf of another bank. We give them the guarantee, that's a confirming bank, and they're able to confirm your LCs. In this case, Afrexim will not be confirming the LC at all. It's another bank that wants to do that, but they're skeptical. They don't want to take the risk of your local bank, and we come in, we'll solve the problem, and we issue them a guarantee, and by doing so, they take our risk and no more the risk of your bank. So these are the 5 products that are under AFTRAF. And then again, what are the benefits? I don't even think I need to, we've all seen the benefits. I don't think I need to dwell more on the benefits of it because, well, some of the benefits, we support the African banks. We offer the banks, the local banks, an opportunity. They're able to extend their correspondent banking services. You're able to do more if you do your transactions based on the AFTRAF program. So please, going forward today, no stories about LCs, get in touch with Oakwood Green. Then from there, I move on to Trade Finance Intermediary Initiative, the TFI initiative. Now, as earlier said, FIs and banks are channels through which we're able to reach the beneficiaries, we're able to channel our services into the continent. Now, we have this TFI initiative, which is, has to do with select financial institutions, select banks that we go into partnership with. They help us to also reach, those diverse groups, and in turn, they also have a lot to benefit. I won't dwell much on this because this relates to the banks. It's a product for the banks, and I know we have a session with the banks on Friday, so I think I will skip on this. But basically what we do is we leverage on their knowledge and the expertise in their respective markets. The TFIs also have some benefits. We treat them as partners, and it doesn't come easy. There's a selection process. We go to credit and it's approved. So do not think that we're just sitting down in the office and we're pointing at banks and we're designating them as TFIs. No, it doesn't work that way. Then I'll move on quickly to Afreximbank Trade Payment Services. That's the AFPay. So basically, this is to facilitate settlement of international trade on open account terms. Like I said earlier, the international banks, they exit when there's a shock, when there's a distortion. Now, we see that they're not only exiting on trade finance, on LCs, on confirmation, they're also exiting on payment services. And so we've brought this solution, to banks in the continent, where we can take care of their payment services. And the way it works, we KYC the banks, they go through the checks, they're selected, we give them the AFPay, and then we can go on and also look at their clients who pass our KYC checks and also extend it to the third parties. Now these clients are now third parties to us. We have this in place for Bloomberg. We have an AFPay in place for them as well. So this, we'll talk more on this on Friday with the banks. Okay, so now I move to Afreximbank Guarantee Program, the AFGAP. So what we do with AFGAP is we're offering a variety of credit enhancement solutions to clients in Africa. The whole objective is to ensure that we de-risk African transactions, we make them more attractive to investors and also financiers. So under AFGAP, we have 5 different categories that we meet various needs of clients. We have the short-term trade guarantee solutions, we have the working capital solutions, we have the supply chain finance guarantee solutions, and we have the bonding facilities for exports and trade contracts as well. So it's under AFGAP. We have, we give the bid bonds, we give the payment guarantees, we give the APGs under AFGAP. Now we have what we call Central Bank Deposit Program, CENDEP. So what you see usually happens is central banks in Africa, a lot of them keep their reserves offshore, outside the continent, and then when they have needs, they want to borrow, they can't even borrow with those reserves. They go back to the same people that have their reserves, and it's a problem. So what we do is we had to design a product where we mobilize the foreign exchange reserves from these central banks. It's competitively priced, we pay them, but we're an investment grade bank, so the reserves, while deposited with us at Afreximbank, still count for central banks as reserves. And then in turn, if they also want facilities, we can give them facilities while the deposit is counting as their reserves for them. So it's a win-win situation. Now we have countries in the continent where the central banks come in and they put like $2 billion, like $3 billion, they deposit it with the bank, and on the back of it, they tell us to give their commercial banks cash-backed facilities, which of course crashes the pricing. And we're able to do that, and their reserves keep counting for them. Now we've also extended this deposit, and we are giving corporates the opportunity to also place deposit with the bank, be it USD, be it Euro. These are, we pay good returns on them as well. Now, I want to talk about Ukraine Crisis Adjustment Trade Financing Program for Africa. Now, the Ukraine crisis is the latest crisis that we're going through in the continent. I'm sure when this crisis was brewing, we didn't realize how important both Russia and Ukraine are to the world. We did not, especially to Africa. until, it kept on going. You think it's getting better, but no, it's getting worse. So basically what has happened now is due to the crisis, it has impacted the continent greatly. Now, the energy prices have gone up, food prices have gone up, fertilizer prices have gone up, supply chain is distorted, there's high inflation, and this is not just affecting West Africa, it's affecting the whole of Africa. Now in the bank, what we've seen like a country like Ethiopia, they would import refined petroleum, maybe one cargo was about $30 million. Today they are doing the same one cargo, 55 million, 60 million. The price has doubled. Same in Cote d'Ivoire, same in Nigeria. Nigeria, we saw queues. There's still petroleum, there's fuel queues everywhere in the country. All this has to do with the Ukraine crisis, the distortion in the supply chain. There are countries that depend on wheat. Egypt, they depend on wheat. Even Nigeria, we also depend on wheat as well. We import wheat. The prices have gone up. So we know that, as Afreximbank, we knew that, yes, this is going to impact the continent. And as usual, we just need to help ourselves. No other person can come and help us. They take off when there is a crisis. So what did Afreximbank do? We came up with this UCAFPA, this Ukraine Crisis Adjustment Facility Program. It's a $4 billion program that we're doing, but I'm sure, as usual, we'll probably exceed the $4 billion mark, because this is what has happened over the years when we've intervened in crisis. So the main objective is we want to help the countries to meet their immediate import price increase, spending adjustments. Like I talked about Ethiopia, what we had to do in the bank, we're supporting Ethiopia very well. We had to increase our limits. We had to make justification, and we got the limits increased. We've done that through various countries that we support. So basically, the UCAFA facility, which is the Ukraine Crisis Adjustment Facility Program, has about 5 different facilities. I think for this audience, the one that will be most suited is the Import Reorder Cost Support Facility, where we're able to help countries to meet the import prices. We also have oil and metal buyback financing facility. Tourism is not left out. We know that countries whose bread and butter is tourism are also going to be deeply impacted, and we also have a product that is addressing this as well. Now, this UCAFA facility is available to eligible countries, and when we say eligible countries, they are member states of Afreximbank, of which Ghana is one. It's done by, we have direct cash advances, the way of utilization, and currencies are dollar, euro, and any other local currency program, any other local currency that will be approved on the local currency program. So I think I'll stop on this UCAFA transaction and touch a bit on the previous interventions that we've done. We've just come out of COVID. Now, when COVID came, what we did, we created a facility called PATINFA to help countries manage the adverse shock of the COVID pandemic. Afreximbank created this 9 days after World Health Organization declared COVID as a pandemic. And as at 31st of December last year, we had approvals of 8.23 billion. When PATINFA was created, we had 3 billion. We were looking at a 3 billion facility. But we ended up disbursing 8.23 billion as of December last year. As of that December last year, we have a standing loans of 4.45 billion. But what will surprise you is that for the PATINFA, we did not record any NPL. No NPLs at all. And same with the COTRA facility that I talked about that we did in 2016. No NPLs at all. Yet when we have this crisis, they take off. So it's only Africans that can create the solutions to the problems. Afreximbank is stepping up and taking the lead in that space. Now I'll go on briefly to structured trade and commodity finance.
Mrs. Okafor, you have 1 minute remaining.
Okay. Okay. So structured trade commodity finance, what we usually do there is it's all about risk management. So we take the risk and give it to parties who are better able to bear those risks, who are better able to manage the risk. And what we have, a number of programs that we have, like we have the pre-export finance facility, where we give companies finance based on their export contracts. Now, let me give you an example. Like in Ghana here, cocoa is your bread and butter. We know that there are a number of companies that do chocolates and they want to export it. So what we do, we look at these companies. Even if these companies are not really able, maybe they're not financially strong, we will still go ahead because we're not depending on them for the repayment. We know that they're going to produce this chocolate and they're going to export it. So we're looking at the export contract they have. We're looking at the likes of Barry Caliber that will buy these chocolates, and that's where the repayment is coming from. So we're able to create a solution to that. We also have revolving trade finance facilities where a borrower can, it's like a borrowing base, it's there, it's revolving, you can draw on it when approved, sort your issues, do your importation, pay back, draw again. And then we have warehouse financing and then reserve-based lending. Reserve-based lending is when we use it a lot in oil and gas, when we do facilities for oil and gas companies, and we secure it by the oil reserves. So I'll go on lastly to supply chain, factoring and forfeiting. I think Eric touched up on this in the morning, so there's really no point to dwell on it. But what we do in our factoring strategy in the bank is that we do financial intervention, where we provide financing to the factoring companies through lines of credits and guarantees. We also have a legal and regulatory framework, where in the bank, Afreximbank has continued on advocacy on adoption of the Afreximbank model law on factoring. We're making good progress in Nigeria. We also do capacity building because factoring is not really known in the continent, so we need to do capacity building to make people aware of this. And of course, we enter into partnerships, strategic partnerships and services with the FCI and other bodies. So I think at this point, I can take a break. But before I go, one thing again that we do in trade finance is capacity building. So we believe that, we do world-class standard events. Now, there's this event we've been doing in the bank right from inception, and it's called Afreximbank Trade Finance Seminar. So last year we had it virtual because of COVID. But really, it's a physical event. This year's event is taking place in Uganda, October 3, 4, 5 in Uganda. And I want to use this opportunity to invite everyone here. Oakwood Green would also be sending out invitations to everyone who has attended here. And we want to encourage you to come. Do not look at it that it's for banks. So what we do in these trainings, we do technical trainings, and we also talk about topical issues. So it's a win-win. It's not just the technical. You need to know what's happening globally. You need to know the financial landscape. We're going through a crisis, the Ukraine crisis. You need to know the financial landscape. You, as you're in your office, things are changing as businessmen. Your treasury needs to know the structures that will be able to see them through this crisis. And then for the banks as well, of course, their staff would also come. So I want to invite all of you to that. It's a paid training. You get a certificate at the end. Now, we have a lot of people asking us, why is it a paid training? Why is it not free of charge? And the answer is this. The training, the content you're going to be getting is the same that you will pay so much to go to the UK, to go to the US, to go to Singapore to go and get. But because we know this is Africa, we are bringing it to you in Africa. So you're going to have global leaders, world leaders come to deliver sessions. There's networking opportunities. Deals are going to be closed. So on this point, I think I'll close my presentation so that others can take the floor.
Mrs. Okafor, like the young people in Ghana will say, you do all. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mrs. Okafor.
Ladies and gentlemen.
For a lot of you, clearly, I could see that you were seeing God in 3D. It was sounding like MBA finance. Please rise to your feet. Let's do some exercise right about now. Everybody go around and collect some money. Go and collect some money from somebody. Come on. Okay. Okay, 6 more. Let's go. Come on. Let's go. It's a great time to be alive. What they said would decimate us and reduce us to nothing, COVID-19. Ladies and gentlemen, we've shown that with a great indomitable spirit of resilience, we can overcome everything. Put your hands together for Africa. Woo! Oh, come on, go around, shake somebody, welcome somebody, ask somebody their name, what they do, take a number, take a selfie. Let's create new networks right about now. This is how we expand our capacity. As we support each other in furtherance of the great Africa trade agenda, reaching the last mile. Beautiful. For the mountain waiting for so long. Okay, we're going down in 10, in 9, in 8, in 7, in 6, in 5, in 4, in 3, and 2, and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for yourselves and please resume your seats. Thank you very much. And so we've had 2 amazing presentations back to back, all of them very related, talking about trade finance and export development finance and facilitation. What we want to do right now is take 2, or shall we make it 3? 2 short questions, and then we move to the next presentation. Hello, sir, I see you here. Another one here. 2 guys. We need some software. These are hardware.
Thank you so very much. My name is Richard Oakwood, and I'm the founder of National Beekeepers Association, which means if you want honey, I supply, and I also train smallholder farmers. So first of all, I'm very happy, Director for SMEs. It's like you solved my day. Because the initial presentation, I wanted to ask, then technically, Afreximbank doesn't have a relationship with any SME because you don't deal directly with them. But you answered what you are bringing, and I hope it will come on. Now, the question is, the interest rate, this was supposed to be, I think, 6%, as the director said before the morning session. Your interest rate, okay, is supposed to be 6%. For 1 year. I wanted to know whether it's you do disbursement in local currency and by extension repayment too in local currency, or the 6% is in hard currency because of the exchange rate differentials, which is the cost to us now. So if you can explain that. And then also the last one, your interest rate, the payment, is it fixed? Is it on reducing balance? Thank you. Thank you very much. The last one,
my name is Vanessa, and I'm the CEO of an enterprise. Basically, we are into agro-processing. We produce healthy breakfast cereal. So my question is, with the local banks, you stated that the funding is passed, it goes through the local banks. So the question is, if the interest rate is over 20%, and then after they give the interest of as low as 6%, does it mean that if I go to a local bank, I'm going to pay 20% plus the 6%, or it's just the 6% interest rate?
Okay, so Thank you, Jerry. Quick response, and my colleague will also provide additional support. It's a very good question because we didn't clarify. The 6% is for lending in foreign currency, lending in USD. That should be clear. Now, if we have local currency program to lend in local currency. If we're going to lend in local currency, again, as I said at the beginning, we don't take deposit. Maybe I should stand up so that you can see me well. We don't take deposits, and that means that we have to source the fund locally, take into consideration the developmental impact, what that facility will do for you by way of increasing employment, by way of increasing living standard, sectoral development, FX generation, all those things that we push the economic development that is expected out of this kind of financing, then we'll give you an affordable pricing. So if we're doing lending in local currency, we are going to take into consideration against the various elements, the cost of fund, what we have paid to access the local currency, say CD in this case, if it's the case of Ghana, and then the small margin which takes into consideration the risk premium. So if you have interest rate around, say 24%, 23%, what we try to be slightly below. We try to be below that, taking into consideration our own cost of funds. You know, so we work with the central bank and source the fund slightly cheaper so that it gives you that leverage. Because one of the reasons why entities come to Afreximbank is not only to access medium to long-term financing, but also to reduce cost of financing. So if it's in foreign currency, 1 year facility is about 6%, that's in USD. To answer the second question, if you are part of an on-lending structure and say the local bank is the borrower and you are the sub-borrower, the pricing you're going to pay is what you see on the term sheet, is what we'll negotiate and agree. It's not 24% plus 6%. 24%, if that's the case, is the pricing for local currency. And if that's the pricing, that's what you will pay. If it's foreign currency, it is the 6% you will pay, not 6% plus 24%. So we price according to cost of fund and currency and margin. All those factors are taken into consideration.
Thank you, Eric. And just to answer you, you said something about Afreximbank lending. We don't lend directly to SMEs. I just mentioned in my presentation that that's changing. Under the new program, there will be direct lending to SMEs, but there will be emerging corporates and large scale-ups. And so that will be a possibility. But then there will be companies that already demonstrate that they are able to work across multiple jurisdictions and are ready to access regional value chain. So that would happen. And then there will now be, you know, the intermediated lending that we generally do for those SMEs that are just, you know, growing and developing. So I hope that's clear. Thank you.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's now move to a very interesting presentation. Two very interesting presentations. You've heard of the fact that we can now pay across the continent in local currency and obtain whatever service we desire. PAPS has made that possible, and today it is my pleasure to present, to officially walk us through the Pan-African Payments and Settlement System, the journey so far, Miss Monica Oraro. She's the Manager of Business Development at PAPS. Please welcome her warmly with a typical Ghanaian welcome.
London.
All right, a very good afternoon to you all. I know you've heard a lot about trade today, and you've heard a lot about exports. So what I want to introduce to you today, if you've not heard of it before, is once you do trade, you have to have a payment for it, right? So this is what we are doing as the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. So I'll take you through our journey. I'm not sure if this is working. Just one moment. All right, so I think we're good to go. So I'll start with a question. Today, if you make a call from Ghana to Nigeria, does this call go directly there, or does it go through another country, for example? It goes directly. So if these calls are going directly, then why is it that when we are making a payment from one African country to another, that it has to go through another country, and not just any country, but a country outside the continent? So I hope I'll get to answer this question for you as we go along. So this is the business case for why we're doing what we're doing at the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System. So we looked at how payments are done today. We find that collectively as a continent, we lose about $5 billion in payment charges annually. We looked at the commercial payments. We started in 2017. We saw that they were at around $18.8 billion, and it is estimated that they're going to be $33 billion by 2024. Now, going back to my original question, we find that of all these payments, and those ones that were done in 2017, about 14.8 billion of them were cleared by a financial party outside of Africa. And this accounts, and this essentially means that only about 20% of our payments are cleared here, which is what then makes it very expensive. I think I need to move. Let me move up so that I have less struggles. Okay. So we really believe strongly in the prosperity of Africa, and this is down to three critical pillars. The first is that today in Africa we have enabling demographics, we have a very young population. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement is creating an enabling environment. So the last part is having the infrastructure to be able to do that. So this can be road infrastructure to move goods, for example, or it can be payments to facilitate the ease of payments across Africa. So essentially, when you have these things in place, those three critical pillars, they drive economic growth. So in places where we have seen this, we find that GDP grows, and it's a sign that the country, the economy is growing as well. So in the spirit of moving quickly, I will give you, I believe I have taken you through the rationale, the business case of why we're doing what we're doing. I will just tell you how we designed the Pan-African payment system to address some of the challenges we're facing today. So the first key principle for us is that we needed to have a payment system that supports instant payments in local currency. So it had to be fit for purpose for us. The continent needed to invest in a central financial market infrastructure What that means is when you have something like that, if you're sitting in Ghana, it should be pretty easy for you to send a payment to somebody in South Africa. We needed to have settlement finality because this is what creates trust when you're doing business. And this needed to be backed by an entity with the ability to do that. It needed to have a strong legal foundation, have solid and proven technology, and it also had to recognize the central banks. Because central banks, this is their mandate. So they needed to be part of this journey, both creating and regulating the system. It needed to have political buy-in, and this then happened at the level of the African Union, where you have all African heads of state sitting and essentially endorsing it at the very highest levels. Then from a practical point of view, it needed to have a proof of concept in a region that's as diverse and complex as the larger African continent. And by that, I mean it's multilingual, multi-currency, multi-regulator. And then there needed to be a regulatory framework that is understood across the continent. Then it had to recognize that we belong to different regional groups. So for example, in Ghana, you're part of West African Monetary Zone. In East Africa, we have the East African Community. Southern Africa also has their own regional community. So with having these different regional blocks, there needed to be a way to bring them on board in a way that enables what they're doing rather than competes with what they're doing. And finally, different parts of Africa have payment systems that may be outdated and so need considerable investment. And this also had to be taken into consideration. So today we believe PAPS checks a lot of those boxes. The legal mandate comes from Afreximbank, which, as you heard earlier today, all governments have signed up to. We've had a successful pilot in your region. So this is a region that has both Anglophone, Francophone countries. It has 6 currencies, including the Ghanaian cedi, and all your regulators, including Bank of Ghana. There needed to be settlement finality. Afreximbank has provided this for this region to the tune of $500 million, and it will be extended to $3 billion as we move to the rest of the continent. It's very flexible. It can integrate both nationally. So in Ghana, we are connecting to the Ghana switch, the KIPS. And by doing this, we will connect to all the commercial banks in Ghana. We provide instant payments in local currency. That means if you're sending from Ghana, you can send in cedi. The person on the other side would receive it in their local currency. We use the latest technology in payments, which is ISO 20022. We work in collaboration with the central banks. So for instance, we have the central bank governor sitting at the highest regulatory organ, which is the PAPS Governing Council. We have the Director of Payments, Bank of Ghana, sitting in our oversight committee. And it has been very collaborative. So we've worked with banks, we've worked with fintechs, we've worked with people doing export and import, and all of this has gone into building this system. So to introduce PAPS, it is essentially a central financial market infrastructure. We provide instant payments in local currencies. If you are a financial institution, we help you to manage your liquidity through a multilateral net basis. Today, we use 6 currencies. We use the cedi, we use the Nigerian naira, Sierra Leone, the Gambian dalasi, the Guinean franc, and the Liberian dollar. We operate on a 24/7 basis, so that means if you want to send a message, a payment on a Sunday, at any time you should be able to do that. And we have a common framework for being able to do that through the AFCFTA. So I just want to highlight one key thing from this, from our ecosystem. So where you are today, you would come in, we have 4 layers in terms of how we approach, how we build the system. We have the core, we have the primary participants who are the banks, we have the secondary participants who are, for example, fintechs, and then we have the products, which is what we then offer to businesses like yourselves. So this can be anything from escrow services to being able to request payment against an invoice if you're doing export, amongst many others. So we have built the first 2. We are about to bring the secondary participants on board, but through your banks, you should be able to have access to these products to be able to make your cross-border payments. So I will quickly skip through the governance. Maybe I'll just focus on where we are today, and hopefully you will recognize some of these institutions. So we started with the 6 central banks of the West African Monetary Zone, and then we have been integrating the key switches. So you should see GIBS there, you should see NIBS, which is the national switch for Nigeria, which then connects to all the commercial banks there. Interswitch, GAMSwitch in the Gambia, eTransact, and then we work with a lot of banks. Some of them are Pan-African banks, and some of them are local banks, such as GCB in Ghana. We have several other banks, I believe, as well. We have Prudential, we have Bank of Africa Ghana, we have UBA Ghana, and many others coming on board. We also have one of the biggest mobile network providers for Africa, which is MFS Africa. So they connect the MTNs, Orange, Safaricom's of this world, allowing you to then do mobile payments. And then we work with a number of partners to help us build capacity in country. So I'll just show you some use cases of how you can use PABs as a business. So this first one, we have a reseller of flour. They are based in Liberia. They want to purchase flour from a trader in Sierra Leone. So they'll go to their bank, and their bank will give them the option, maybe through internet banking, to do this. So their bank then sends the message to us in PABs. It will send it in the local currency, in Liberian dollars. And at this point in PABs, the central banks will have provided us with a foreign exchange rate. So we'll be able to tell the banks what the rate is for the day, so that the bank now in Sierra Leone is able to receive the equivalent in Leone. And this happens in about 120 seconds. We also guarantee the payment through a number of validations that we do. So there's also there are many options. So there's also an option to invest. This is an example of that. I just want to take you through a mobile money case study. So here we have a Gambian. He wants to transfer money to his brother who lives in Sierra Leone. So he can also have this instruction as a mobile payment through this MNO, this mobile network company or mobile transfer company called Speedy Transfers. And that institution then sends the money across to Sierra Leone, and his brother Paul is able to receive that, again, in about 120 seconds. So I just want to conclude with what I believe are the benefits and the opportunities for the businesses. One is that the process happens in about 120 seconds. Ordinarily today, best case scenario, if you're making a cross-border payment in Africa, you're looking at, a day. The worst case, from a lot of the businesses we've spoken to, it can take a week, sometimes even 2 weeks. And that means your goods are being held until these payments are made. The second is that we run the essential checks and validations. And once this is done, then it goes directly to the beneficiary, to the receiver, in their local currency, so they receive value. We only have two parties in the transaction, the sending bank, the receiving bank or institution, payment institution. That means a reduced cost as well as giving you transparency over when the payment will be received. All of this ultimately means that intra-Africa trade becomes significantly easier. As a business, you can fund and pay in local currency, so you save on the high fees associated with international payments. And finally, through the provision of e-commerce payment services, you can expand your business to reach other customers in Africa. And with that, I would like to come to the end of my presentation, and I believe I will take questions after the end of the next session. Thank you very much.
So the MC is on vacation. Allow me to introduce Mr. Pap Jeye, who will take us through the Mansa KYC platform. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here to present Mansa to you. First of all, I would like to thank Oakwood Green Capital for organizing this roadshow and also make it possible today to speak with you. So, I spoke with many of you outside regarding Mansa, because most of you came to say that, okay, I have my business in Africa, in my country, but I am not able for now to expand my business because I don't have counterparts, I don't have partners. And I responded that, okay, it's not normal because your product, your entity should be well known within the continent, because you need to sell your product out of out of your country, and for that, Afreximbank, in its mandate to promote intra-African trade, has initiated this Mansa platform. Okay, so you can go to the number 6. So Mansa derives from Mansa Musa. As you know, Mansa Musa was the first emperor of Malian Empire in 13 years. This man was placing Africa in the world of gold, and this man did great during that period by developing the commerce of gold during his way to the Hajj in Saudi Arabia. And today we gave the name of the platform Mansa because we are promoting trade, and we need all African entities to trade between themselves. So Mansa is the platform that gives you opportunities to expand your business. I will go straight to the information that you should get to put your profile on the platform. Today, as you know, if you are doing your business in Ghana, you are selling cocoa butter, or you are selling juice, or you are selling garments, whatever, textile, you need, within the continent, to be viewed by other counterparties in Africa. And today, when we open the Mansa platform, we see that Ghana is the weakest link of Mansa. Why? Because we don't have visibility on Ghanaian entities, on Ghanaian corporates, and this is not normal. This big country should be visible within the platform and towards other counterparties in Africa. You are selling good products. You are doing great in the area of trade, so you should be within the platform. Yes. So Mansa has three main pillars: the customer due diligence, Invest in Africa tab, and news and events. The customer due diligence tab will provide you reports on any entity you will need from the continent, okay? And the Invest in Africa will give you country profiles on any country in Africa that you need to know. You will have all the data, macroeconomic data, climate, employment outlook, all the products, all the entities that sell goods in the country, okay? And you have news and events which give you all the informations on compliance within the continent, okay? Yes. So we have three main players in Mansa platform. We have the contributors. You, as an entity, you need to contribute, mean you need to publish your information on the platform, okay? And it is totally free. So to be visible, to be transparent on the platform, you need just to put your information, and I will come back to the type of information that you need to input onto the platform. Now, this information, once they are published into the platform, are being verified by regulatory entities like, for example, Central Bank for financial institutions, Chamber of Commerce or Ministry of Trade for entities, or for SMEs or corporates, or credit bureaus, or any other umbrella bodies that have large number of members. So once now these information are verified, Afreximbank has another team to verify those information, to cross-check and make sure that everything is okay before publishing your profile onto the platform. And every entity will appoint what we call an administrator. An administrator will be a person within the organization or the entity who will contribute, like make a role, and somebody else will do the checking after the contribution. So we have three levels of checking with regard to the data we publish on the platform. First of all, at the entity level with the maker and the checker. Second, with the regulatory entity. And third, with Afreximbank. Again. Yeah. Go to the level of information. Again. Yes, here. Okay. Just before. Okay. So the onboarding process, how does it work? We have today all the financial institution entities like SMEs and corporates who voluntarily put their information on the platform to be visible. So, as I was saying, once now these information are published, now any entity from the continent or outside the continent can go to the CDD's Customer Due Diligence tab, press a button and get a report on 5 pages on the entity. Okay, again, yes. So, I was saying that is there any cost to onboard on Mansa? Zero cost. So, it's totally free. You put your information to be visible, to be transparent, and it does not cost any fees for you. Okay? Again. Now, let me tell you, here, please. Let me tell you here the type of information you have to put on your profile. Second. Yes. First of all, you have your business license. As SME or corporates, you all have your business license. You all have your company registration. Your maybe sometimes object of establishment in some countries and tax certificate. But as you see here, we have mandatory fields and optional fields. So the business license is optional while the company registration document is mandatory. So you have to put your company registration document on your profile. Second class is the ownership and management. So the declaration of ultimate beneficiary owners is mandatory. What does it mean? If you have, for example, in your shareholder, a company that get, for example, more than 10% of shareholding, we need to have the ultimate beneficiary owners. Who is the person behind that structure in your capital? Okay, we have also the executive management profile, which is optional, and the profile of director also optional, but the shareholder list, we need to have the shareholder list of your company. We know that if you are an SME or a family business, you might have people in your capital. So we need to know, to get those information. Second, the business information. We have on the platform a list of drawdown menu with all the business areas in the world. So you have just to tick the business that you are doing to make sure that if somebody into your profile, he will know exactly what you do. Okay? We have the fourth class, which is the compliance. The compliance, we have the AML, anti-money laundering questionnaire, which is optional. Okay? We have the signed AML questionnaire also, which is in the platform optional. But here, what is mandatory is only the AML questionnaire that you have to fill. 8 questions that you have to tick why yes, usually because you do formal business. Okay? Next. And now the financials. It is important to have your financials because if you don't have your financial, you will not give confidence to your counterparts to deal with you. That's why we need your financials. We know that SMEs have problem to get management accountant books. So what we used to do is at least to ask about management report or bank account of the showing the flows of funds of the company. Okay. So this is the mandatory information that we capture from the entity. And other information, if you have it also, it will enrich your profile, whether you are part of any organization or any conglomerate in your country. So this is for SMEs and corporate. This is the type of information we need to put in your profile. So when any entity from Africa needs to get in touch with you, at least they will have the report showing all this information. For financial institution, as you see, all the information are mandatory. External auditors, business license, company registration, object of establishment, tax certificate. Okay? Same for ownership and management, all the information are mandatory because we are in a sensitive sector, so we request all this information. Next, please. The business information, same. For the AML also same. Next. And for the financials, only the annual reports. And sometimes if the financial institutions is rated by any agency. So these are the type of information we have from the platform. So any entity who needs visibility, who needs transparency, should upload this information on the platform. And I want to share with you some testimonials we got from all this information that you saw from the platform. We connect Tanta Motors, a company from Egypt, who is selling tractors to a company from Burkina Faso because they needed to have a counterpart and they went to Mansa and connect with that. There is also Fresh Egypt, who got connected to a company in Zimbabwe to buy fresh juice from Zimbabwe. So I can give you several examples from the platform that connect both entities from any countries to promote deals in Africa. So what I would call here to close my speech is, before I leave this country, I want all of you to be on Mansa because we need to get your visibility, your transparency on the platform. And it's not normal that in Ghana, with all the companies, with all the products you are selling, you are producing, we cannot have your information on the platform. And I went in several conferences, several exhibitions where people were asking about Ghanaian entities because they know that you might sell this type of product, but unfortunately you are not in the platform. So can I call here, I don't know how many you are here, but before I got several business cards, but before I leave this country. We have 2 more days tomorrow. I want all of you tomorrow to come to put your information on the platform. Please, I call and I beg you to bring your information tomorrow. If, as you saw, for the SMEs, we have just 5 mandatory information that you have. So bring those information, we'll put you on the platform, and you will be visible and transparent towards other counterparts. Thank you. It's totally free.
I think we should just hold. Please write down your questions so that we quickly take the last presentation, and then we'll be, that's why we're all seated here. I'm not presenting, I'm here because I'm waiting for questions. So I will bring on stage now my brother, Frederick Seidu, who is the champion for Intra-African Trade Initiative. Please, a round of applause for him.
Thank you, Eric. Can you put up the presentation? Okay, but I'm not going to go through all the lengthy stuff that I put up here. I just would want to focus very quickly on specific areas, looking at the audience we have. I don't want to go too much into our trade financing products for intra-African trade. We will share the slides with you just for information purposes. You can read them. We have our addresses as well that are available. You can just contact us if you find anything interesting. But I just want to highlight some of the trade facilitation initiatives that we have as a bank that I believe probably may interest you as SMEs that we mostly have today. So the first that I would want to introduce is what we call the Intra-African Trade Fair. This morning and throughout this whole day, we have consistently discussed the lack of market information, lack of access to markets as one of the key challenges for intra-African trade, and especially for SMEs. And for us, this is that solution. We have copies out there on our stand. Please do pick a copy. And what I'm encouraging you to do, this is the marketplace for Africa right now. Next year, it will be happening in Côte d'Ivoire. It is an opportunity for you as SMEs to register your presence on the African continent. Last year in Durban, we had 32,000 visitors. The chances that you would get somebody in Côte d'Ivoire, where we are expecting about 34,000 visitors coming to you, are really high. So we want to encourage all of you, get onto the platform and register for the event. There are actually 8 verticals on the program. You can go in there as an exhibitor if you want. And that would be great because that gives you visibility. You can go in there just to participate in the conference and try to influence policy, because that is at that continental level that you get to make your voices heard. This is an event that is co-sponsored by Afreximbank, the AU, and the Continental Free Trade Area. And so as an SME, at that forum or at that conference, which is one of the verticals, you get to make your voice heard. You get to tell them what you think is not happening right. AFTFCA is good, but tell them in practice what you're going through and what they need to change. So again, the conference there is your opportunity to tell them what is not going well. And of course, there are opportunities for business to business. You go in there, there's a platform that you register, and you can also scan through, see companies that are in your field or your target markets. You request meetings with them, and you are able to have those one-on-one meetings with them at the forum. So for me, that is another key win for you. And I know for most of us, cost may be an issue. I had a question, how am I going to transport my goods to Côte d'Ivoire? Well, Ghana and Côte d'Ivoire are not very far, but there's also what we call the country days. Ministry of Trade and Industry, together with the Ghana Export Promotion, I'm sure Gabi will be more than happy, Oakwood, to also work with some of our SMEs. Get in touch with these partners, get a country day. It's a package for the whole country. You get to go together, have a stand, you exhibit your goods. And there will be full dedicated days for country days where all the focus of the conference, 34,000 people, will be on you that day. And of course, all the digital world would be on you. Then of course, we have the the virtual, IATF virtual, that runs throughout the whole year. Again, we're speaking a lot about visibility. You can register online, exhibit your products online, and a lot of visitors do go onto that platform. And these are opportunities for you. So you may think, I'm an SME, who notices me? But that is how you get noticed. Everything is about digital these days. So get onto that IATF virtual, register your presence, and get to be noticed by the world. I noticed we have an automotive exhibitor here as well, and I just want to also encourage you, as part of that IATF 2023 in Abidjan, we're going to have an auto show as well. And the good news about the auto show is it's going to bring together all the OEMs. It's going to bring together all the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 component manufacturers. Now, these are the top level guys when it comes to the auto sector. So if you want to get noticed, if you want to strike partnerships, you want to strike deals, that is the place to be as an auto player. And of course, for some of us here, you may ask, what has auto got to do with me? Well, Ghana has developed the Ghana Automotive Development Plan, which is aimed at developing the sector in Ghana. A car has 30,000 to 33,000 components. It means there's a role for everyone to play. So you just have to go out there and ask yourself what it is about my business, or where can I play in the auto sector. Government is focused on it, the bank is focused on it, and as the Secretary General said this morning, there's $1 billion that's been allocated for auto sector development. Just ask yourself, where can I play? Go to Moti, they are working out a scheme, and then let's see where you could also play when it comes to the auto sector. And of course, one of the last verticals for the IATF is what we call the Africa Youth Startup, or the AU Youth Startup. For most of us that are new, we need support, we need mentoring. That is the place to be. You register for that forum, and they are going to be venture capital firms. They are going to be angel investors. They are going to be big-time companies like export trading companies that want small companies like yourselves to feed into their regional value chains. So these are opportunities for you to take advantage of. So please don't say there's nothing in it for me. You just have to create your own network and build on that. So do not despair and think you are too small, or as Yofi Grant said this morning, do not wait on government to always push us. There's enough resourcing available right now for you to be noticed as an SME. So that's one of the key messages I want to leave with you today. The IATF, do register. All the information is available on the website, www.intraafricantradefair.com. Just try and register so that you can be a part of this. So quickly as well, I just want to touch on some of the other opportunities, that trade facilitation opportunities that we have as a bank. And here we're looking at the export trading companies. I see a lot of you doing agri-foods and stuff like that. There's really a limitation as to how much you can grow if you want to do it all by yourself. Look for big companies in your sphere, in your space, that are into the same opportunity. All you can do is manufacture your little blend, sell to them, let them aggregate it on a larger scale, exports, or do whatever they want. Do not want to do it all by yourself. Sometimes that is what we want to do as well as SMEs. Learn to use aggregators, identify export trading companies in your markets, in your countries, and these are companies that then act as a front for you. They can source the financing they need from Afreximbank, which they can backward lend to you or give to you as suppliers credit to do some of the production and manufacturing that you want to do. So again, I want to encourage a lot of you to look into this concept of export trading companies, try to identify who they are in your value chain in Ghana, and work with them to grow your business. Don't try to do any, just focus. If yours is technical marketing, production, do it, sell it to them, let them be the one to take care of exports, let them be the one to take care of looking for markets. Just play in your core strength. If it's manufacturing your product, use your formula, do it, and then sell it off. So that's, please just proceed. I'm not going according to any particular order, I'm sorry. So that is another one. Then I just spoken about our auto program. Again, just ensure you get into it. Use the opportunity to educate yourself on the opportunities. It's a huge market that is coming up, and the last frontier for Africa. Just start researching, go to Muti, get more information about the Ghana Auto Development Program, and try and see what is available for you. So I think probably I don't think there's much that I need to add here. Just hold on a second. So speaking about, okay, then the transit scheme, Eric talked about it this morning. Again, we need advocacy. If it takes 3 days for a truck to leave Mombasa to Kampala, and yet in our corridor, it takes 12 to 15 days, it tells you there's a problem. And so, again, we have piloted this transit guarantee program in Comesa region, that's in the Eastern African region. We need, as SMEs, to also be able to engage our governments and tell them we need to find a way of making change and making sure that in the ECOWAS region as well, we can have the one transit bond. You issue it in Ghana, and your goods go to Nigeria. You don't have to go to Lome, issue one bond. You go to Benin, issue another one before you eventually cross into Nigeria. So again, this is another thing that I want us to focus on. Then just quickly to tell you about one of the key programs that we run as a bank, which is what we call the creative economy. My colleague said we should talk about it. And here we realize, okay, I want to use local examples now. So for the creative in Ghana, it will refer to an industry such as the Kumawood industry in Kumasi. So essentially, these are actors, these are producers, these are distributors, but we all know the level of quality that we have. So we, as a bank, are able to capacitize the creative industry, film production, music. We're looking at fashion and design as well, helping these industries to capacitize, maybe through capacity building, but more importantly, through training. We not only are able to get them in touch with various industry professionals for training, but we are able to leverage on big, technically gifted companies that can set up the infrastructure that we need, for example, in Kumasi to produce movies. I met a company, I think 2 weeks ago in Los Angeles, that wants to come to Accra of all places, and they're going to Adan, and they want to go and build a film studio, film manufacturing studio in Adan. And they are coming to us for that financing. They're not bringing it from the US. They are coming to us for that financing. So my question is, if the guys in their diaspora are seeing this opportunity, what about we who are in Kumawood here? Why can't we take advantage of such opportunities? So again, the creative economy, one of the big opportunities that we have. You can come to us with your proposals. We are able to see how we can support you in that regard. Then, of course, as we said, it's not only the films, dress, fashion design, you can textile manufacturing, you can do it on your own, or you can partner with other people to get it done. Then just lastly, just to tell you, we also have a program that we call How to Export within the Continental Free Trade Area. This is a program that we run country by country, but we would certainly share information with Gabi and the team when it's time for Ghana. This is a program that is being run together with the International Trade Center, and it teaches SMEs like yourselves how to export, how to capacitize yourselves to be able to meet the standards under the Continental Free Trade Area. So we've done it in Nigeria, we've done it in Rwanda, we've done it in Cote d'Ivoire. But just get onto that website, at ITC website. There's lots of information you can learn on your own. But as well, when this training comes to Ghana, we are able to invite all of you to be able to participate in it and really get to enhance your ability to export within the Continental Free Trade Area. I think I'll leave it here, Eric. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Ladies and gentlemen, how about a round of applause for all our presenters thus far? So I vanished, but I returned with good news. The first good news is, for all those of you who were taking photographs of the slides, please delete them. You are going to have them in your mail tonight. How about a round of applause? So now you know whenever I vanish, I come back with good news. There's another good news, but you'll see that one later in the evening. Don't worry. Don't worry. Believe in God. Believe also in his prophets, and he shall be established. This evening, ladies and gentlemen, it falls to Madam Cynthia Eruyo, who is our head trade advisory, Oakwood Green, to render the closing remarks. Please receive her warmly with a round of applause. And so, the big man, regional CEO, has just intervened and said that maybe some of you have questions. Please, don't make it a type C question. Straight to the point. Question section A, I beg you. All right, so we'll take how many? Just 3, and then we'll be out of here. Let me start with Madam here.
Good evening once again. I would like to thank all the panelists. In fact, you've given us hope, you've given us confidence, you've talked a lot, big English, financials, blah, blah. But we are hoping that everything that you've talked to us about will be very practical. Please, we will be buzzing, we will be calling, but don't return our emails with "I'm out of the office," keep coming back, and then frustrating us as well as our local, because our local banks are really frustrating us. And we are stuck. We really want to expand. We are happy. We really want to take the opportunity. And so everything you said is just too good to be true. So please, let it be a reality. Thank you.
Okay. You've spoken. This man hasn't spoken the whole day. I beg you.
Thank you very much. My name is Sita Sofo Hisan. I'm the president of the After Young Entrepreneurs Federation. I've been enjoying coming from, I work with UBA, work with EcoBank. About a month or so ago, I happened to be in African Finance Corporation event, and I had lunch with Tony Lumelu and Co. When we speak about AFTA, the young African entrepreneur don't actually identify himself or herself with AFTA. You're mentioning big figures, $10 million, $5 million. They are scary to the young African entrepreneurs. I would want to appeal to Afreximbank to try and sit with us. And let's identify the needs of the young African entrepreneur, because Africa is the most youthful continent we have, and then we've heard all the nice speeches. But then from here, when you go to AFTA Secretariat, they still don't have protocol for women and youth. They were not considered in the first phase. And then we are hoping that the next phase, they should come out with protocols. But then we know the African young entrepreneur faces 2 major things. 1, access to fund. 2, capacity building and training. So we would want you to engage us directly so that whatever we are doing, let's build a young African entrepreneur. In the next 5 years, 10 years, we're gonna be the next Dangotes and Co. But then, if we are focused on the UBA, Tonelumelu, EcoBank, then at the end of it all, what are we doing to our generation? We'll be here, and the big institution will still come and employ the young entrepreneurs. And then the 1.3 billion market, we are saying, it will be non-existent, because if you have so many people and they don't have purchasing power, what will be the use? So I'm just appealing to Afreximbank, because my colleague has spoken. Because of my banking experience, I engaged CBG, I'm trying to engage GCB, I've engaged EcoBank. But still, their interest rate, the young African entrepreneur don't have collateral. They cannot access it. So I'm just pleading, come down to our level, engage the youth. Let's find ways and means of adding us to the after journey. Even if you see the youth not relevant now, but I'm telling you, the next 5-10 years, the impact we are going to make is going to be very great. Thank you very much.
My God!
And for a man who sits with Tony Alumelu for dinner, he certainly doesn't need our money. He's asking for others.
Thank you very much. Good evening. My name is Colin Salati. I work in the digital space, and I actually thinking about the fintechs and cybersecurity organizations and stuff. Where is their stake? I mean, I'm glad you guys talked about capacity building, but are we focusing on the fintech companies or the digital companies who are definitely going to help our SMEs in onboarding? I mean, when we talk about the IAF and then the MANSA, a lot of these companies don't have even websites and they are not established online. And it's the fintech and the cybersecurity and the digital companies who are going to assist them. So do we have any special plans or dedications for our companies in the digital economy? Thank you.
Okay.
Our lady here. Okay, a lady of mercy.
Thank you. All right, thank you. One instrument I expected to see as far as the last mile is the African Trade Observatory, but I think that's but whether it's part of this program. But going to my questions. Okay, so with regards to the banks, how do we know which banks are affiliated with the Afreximbank? Because my sister mentioned that the banks are frustrating us. It means that when they are not affiliated with Afrexim, it means that they cannot have the kind of capacity to assist the SMEs. So are they going to be advertising? Should we ask them that are you affiliated so that we get to do business with them or something like that? And then also with PAPs, is it after ratification sensitive in the sense that are there only the state parties that are, have signed on to the PAPs? Because as it stands now, we know about 43 countries have ratified. So that if a country has not ratified, we shouldn't be looking at PAPs with them. And also, if I should export today and after, can I pay using the PAPs, especially for the currencies you mentioned? And then, is there a way to update us of the currencies that keep adding up? Because I know a lot more currencies will come up, so how do we get the updates? And then to Mansa. Please allow, please. Mansa, how long does it take to get our information published on the site after going through the processes? And also, are there renewal processes or is just a one-time upload? And then to Mr. Seydu, finally, yes, that's the final one. You mentioned online registration and exhibition. Does it mean that when you do that, you don't actually have to attend a conference? Or what I'm asking is the online registration and exhibition for those who may not be able to attend the trade fair, but can do the upload, can do the online registration and get their products or services exhibited? Thank you.
Internationally connected and locally accepted. It's good.
And then?
Francis Ofosukobia is my name. I have two questions. I'm going straight forward. We've heard that the SMEs in Africa are 1.3 million. It means you have our numbers. we had so big figures, $10 million, $20 million. So my question goes to Oakwood, Green Africa, and Afreximbank. Do you have any practical ways that you can get to the root of the SMEs without hanging in the air like capacity buildings like this? Only the big men will come. But if you go to Circle, if you go to KJTR magazine, those who need this information are there, but they can't get it. So do you have any practical ways that you can get to them? My second question goes to Mansa. You said you want more Ghanaian businesses to get to the platform. Have you, in a way, sent the information to them? Why I'm asking that is that I've been in seminars like this from last year, September. I mean, but because of these things, they are not happening in other parts of Ghana. So I moved to Accra to be attending these seminars. But I've never heard your name before. It's only today. So are you sending information to the business organization like Export Promotion Council and the others? If you are not doing it, like, for example, July 12th and 13th, Ghana Export Promotion Council is going to organize forum for young entrepreneurs. I think you should take advantage and get this information to them. And the Ministry of Trade and Industry, they have all the business organizations, including AFIF. My president is here. They'll get the information to us, and later you see your networking pumping up because the numbers will be more than what you need. Thank you.
And then the panel.
Okay. I think I will take the first stab at the questions. I had a question around lending to SMEs that we say our deal size is $10 million and above, and it's all up there in the air, and you know it's inaccessible to people like yourselves. If you recall, when I commenced my presentation, I said we recognize that despite all our interventions, the gap within for financing SMEs is still huge. We recognize that there's not only financing gap, there's capacity building gap. We recognize that there's market access gap, and we recognize that there's advocacy gap. And we decided that we were going to use our SME development program to fill all this, providing financial and non-financial. And I also mentioned that even in the financial intervention, we are not just going to be doing intermediated lending. We are also going to be considering direct lending in partnership with partners like Oakwood Green. But the direct lending we'll be considering would be for digital scale-ups. Now, attending to the man who said, is there anything for people within the digital space, fintechs, already lending and supporting SMEs? We are already working on a product for digital scale-ups, large digital scale-ups. We had a workshop in Cairo 2 months ago that was attended in person by our president, where we got on board digital scale-ups from across the continent, Ghana, Nigeria, Ethiopia, South Africa. We were all in a room and we're brainstorming on what were the issues. How do they support SMEs? And how can we, Afreximbank, in turn support them? So the direct lending will be to digital scale-ups and emerging corporates. Who do we term emerging corporates? Emerging corporates are corporates that have already done very well within their region, their country, and are on the COPs. When I mean on the COPs, they can't expand beyond their country. They can't do businesses in other jurisdictions, 2, 3, multiple countries. But because of the fact that they don't have the financial backbone to go, they are constrained. So we are going to be supporting these people. And what are we looking at? We are trying to look at deal size of between 1 million to 3 million for these people. It's not going to be our 10 million. But under that direct financing, under our export SME development program, the deal size is going to be between 1 million to 3 million for the digital scale-ups and the large corporates. The tenors we are looking at will be about up to 3 years. But we have received, like I said to you, our board approvals, and we are about to finalize these products and launch. And for the intermediated lending, those who don't require 1 million to 3 million, I know you'll be saying, hey, but me, all I need is just 500,000 or 800,000. We have not forgotten you. We are going to be partnering with the likes of Oakwood Green. We are going to be partnering with the likes of GCB. We are going to be partnering with the likes of CBG to offer intermediated lending where they will be able to lend to you whose financing need is below 1 million downwards. And then for capacity building, there's been a lot of talk of, oh, what are you doing in the areas of capacity building? Even before the launch of this program, we are already doing a lot in the space of capacity building. My colleague mentioned what we've been doing in the creatives. For instance, Afreximbank over the last 2 years has been identifying fashion designers, or what we call, I don't know whether they call them fashion designers, maybe I'm using the wrong word, you know, across the continents in different countries. They've identified fashion designers that are breaking boundaries, and they've projected them by taking them to the Portugal fashion show. I've been there consistently with these fashion designers over 2 years. So we identified a cohort of 20 fashion designers. They could be in clothes, in shoes, in bags, all across the creative sector. They are taken to the Portugal fashion show. They exhibit their products or the things they produce on the runway, and they are able to access buyers. Because we are not just taking them there for show, we are taking them there so that they can access buyers in Europe. So that's market access. That's one of our interventions that we've been doing. And then, we've also supported fashionomics that even the AFDB has done, supporting the projection of Africans within the creative and textile sector. My colleague spoke to our interventions in film. We've been doing quite a lot, and also he mentioned the How to Export that we are already running with ITC, a capacity building program, and that I mentioned that, when we finalize our launch of the Export Development Program, this will be one of the things you will be seeing online and able to access easily to be able to guide you and support you. So in terms of capacity building, we've already started doing a lot, and we'll continue on the program, and we'll also have an incubation program also. Then in terms of advocacy, I have mentioned severally that SMEs cannot thrive only by fixing financing issues, capacity building issues, market access issues. There's also the advocacy issue that we need to fix. And we're going to be taking on this. A lot of feedback we've received when we engage SMEs, and we are engaging. Don't think we are not talking. We are not just talking to Dangote and Elumelu. That's not our focus. Like I said to you, 2 months ago, we were in Cairo in a workshop over 2 days. Our president sat there with young entrepreneurs from across the continent, listening and taking on board their challenges. And one of the key things that came out was issues of multiple taxation and how we can address and support this. So this is going to be one of the advocacy things we are going to take on under the Export Development Program in engaging our member countries. So we really are very focused, and we are not just sitting on the high end and like there in the sky and looking down on you. No, we understand what needs to be done, and we are going to do it. And I want to assure you we are very credible people. If you are not credible, Oakwood Green will not bring us all the way to Ghana and vouch for us with even the support of the Ghana Commercial Bank and the CBG also. So just to mention again, we are supporting digital scale-ups. You can contact us if you're a digital scale-up, thinking of expanding, and you support a lot of SMEs already. We are creating programs for you. We've been talking to your colleagues all across the continent and even in Ghana here, and you should be a part of the conversation. I will turn over now to my colleague, Eric, who is going to speak on the banks affiliated to Afreximbank. You will also see there that there's no discrimination. Hold on.
Thank you, Ronti. Please, a round of applause for those answers, because it's very reassuring, it instills confidence, and a round of applause to yourselves for staying till now. This is not to be taken for granted. People are patient, nobody is dozing off. I didn't see anybody dozing off, so I'm doing very well. See, let me support what my sister has said with some statistics. We spent time to study these things. We did a study in 2019, just before COVID, Afreximbank and African Development Bank, and it came out that the trade finance gap in Africa is well above 81 billion US dollars. Now, with the advent of COVID, that trade finance gap has gone up to about 120 billion US dollars. If you look at financing to SMEs, 90% of SMEs that approach banks for financing are declined. We are aware of it, 90%. Now, in Europe, 80% of requests from SMEs or trade finance requests is financed by banks. In Africa, only 40%, only about 40% is financed by banks. So we are very aware of the gap. So imagine 100% of requests come, and only 40% is able to be financed by banks. So because of that, that is why we partner with entities like Oakwood Green Africa Limited. They have a Bloom journey. I don't know whether we listen to his Edgar's presentation. Bloom journey has 5 stages. Today you may be sitting here listening to Afreximbank, and you think that you're not qualified for immediate financing. Don't be discouraged. They will handhold you, prepare you to be ready to access financing. We have those capacity building initiatives. I remember some time ago I was doing training in Côte d'Ivoire in French to teach SMEs and entrepreneurs like yourself how to export under the AFCFTA. We do those things. We do them in partnership with Oakwood Green so that they can handhold you, guide you, and prepare you for this financing. And they even have financial products available for you to meet your immediate needs using their banking network, which they call Bloomberg Africa. And when you reach a certain stage, we will provide them liquidity to continue that program. And this liquidity being provided to them will be done in such an affordable way that will take into consideration the developmental impact. So, working with financial institutions, we do not discriminate. My colleague Uju had explained that we have a program which we call Trade Finance Intermediaries. What does she mean by that? We are aware that if Afreximbank alone cannot meet all the trade finance needs, that is why we provide lines of credit to financial institutions. Take this money and be financing the SMEs. Second stage, we partner together with the same financial institution, all of them, no discrimination, to still provide needs. Thirdly, we provide financing directly. So with this 3-stage intervention, and the 4th one, partnering with Oakwood Green, where they have this program where they can prepare you, which they call Afreximbank. So they accelerate you to a level where you can access international financing. These 5 ways of providing support. There is no discrimination. It gives you that confidence. The practical ways of how they get to you, I think Cynthia or my brother Edgar will be able to tell you more practically how they do that. On payment under PAPS, Monica is here, but what I can say very quickly is that you need to understand the way PAPS works. Central Bank have opened PAPS settlement accounts with Afreximbank. These central banks need to connect the PAPS system through their national switches to all the commercial banks. Individuals and entrepreneurs or SMEs like you have your accounts in the core banking system of the commercial banks. There needs to be an interface between the core banking system and the PAPS system. So that when you go walk into your bank, order a transaction, it will move from the core banking system through the interface and then come on to PAPS system for it to go through. So we've tested the connectivity of the central bank. That is completed. It's piloted in this market. Ghana has been a champion of it. That's completed. We are now connecting the commercial banks. And these commercial banks are built, and Afreximbank are building the interface through the national switches. Now, once a critical mass of the commercial banks are connected, it will then be available for individuals or companies to go in other transactions. So this process takes time. Sometimes people don't understand it. Sometimes we need to do some hand-holding. Sometimes it needs to go through regulatory approval. Sometimes it even needs to go to Parliament. A lot of these things are taking a bit of time. But the long and short of it is that between now and end of this year, we will begin to see transactions going through. Today we have 8 central banks onboarded already, and about 31 to 45 commercial banks on the system. So this is coming. This is something that is going to be a game changer. So it is these technical integration processes that we're going through. I don't know whether Monica will have to add something on that. Then how long does it take for your transactions, your information to be published on Mansa? Once you, Pap said it here, tomorrow fill out your information. There are 3 users of Mansa KYC platform. You have the contributor, who is you. Contributor is all the entities, be a commercial bank, be an SME. You provide your KYC information. Now, for this KYC information to be published, it needs to be verified by a regulator so that it authenticates the information with respect to international acceptable standards, KYC standards. So if you're a commercial bank, you provide your information on that platform, it needs to be cleared by the verifier. Verifier in this case is the central bank. The central bank verifies that yes, all the information is true and correct. Then once that is done, it becomes available in the system. So if you are an exporter, there's a regulator in the export space who will also verify and confirm your information that is valid. Then it becomes available. That's why you have 3. You have the contributor, the verifier, and then the subscriber. Somebody who is an investor internationally that subscribe to now access your information once it becomes available. Perhaps can add to that a bit. Practical ways of getting to SMEs. Mr. Egal, I think this is your bread and butter. Thank you.
Maybe if I use this MC zone, my voice will be as nice as his own. So let me just give clarity on this. Again, the SME program, apart from what Afreximbank has said, they are doing capacity building. In this conference tomorrow, I remember introducing you to Sophie for the accelerator program. If you want to get the benefit of that, then be here tomorrow. She's going to have a session with all of you SMEs, understand what your requirements are, so we can package all of that information, and there's enough data for us to make it for funding, okay, either through an on-lending capacity or whatever. But we would need to, some of you are prepared, some of you are not. And that is the truth. You know, I have been a banker for many years. And one of the reasons why you have problems with the commercial banks is because when you go to them, you are not prepared. They look at it, you don't have structure. And because they are small businesses, unfair to you, but they don't take out the time to create a platform that can prepare you. They just decline because they have bigger transactions to deal with. We have seen that gap, and that's why we created the company called Afreximbank. I've run 2 banks in this country. One was UBA, one was First Atlantic Bank in this country. I've supervised 18 banks across Africa in each of those things. I understand where the pain points are, and that's why we set up this thing, and that's why we partnered with Afreximbank. It's not an error. Tomorrow we have Afreximbank, you will come, but Rome was not built in a day. We will take you and we have a scoring, it's a technology platform. We'll ask you certain information and we will categorize you into 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. If you are in category 1, we know we need to move you to 2, move you to 3, move you to 4, and move you to 5, and make you available for proper lending. And that lending, we will do it for GCB, we will do it for Consolidated Bank, so that by the time you are going to them, you are able to do it. You see, the truth is, the issue is collateral. But if the transaction is well structured, you may not need collateral. This is the point. Okay? Your cash flow may be able to do it. And this is what we have built. And we'll take you through that. So, do like this. Relax. just get in touch with us. Thank you.
Okay.
One more time, ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause. I was saving that introduction for the last, but since you've blown it, ladies and gentlemen, we're dealing with a man who certainly knows the landscape, a man whose contribution to banking in Ghana and Africa is as long as Nigeria's next attempt to the World Cup. Please, a round of applause for the man himself. And so we bring this event to a close, ladies and gentlemen, by taking the closing remarks from our sister Cynthia. She has been the field marshal, marshalling all the resources to make sure that this event has been a success. Please, a round of applause for her as she comes.
Jerry, thank you. And thank you really so much for sitting through. It's been quite a long day. We don't take it for granted at all. We hope it's been useful to you. So the Regional Chief Operating Officer, the Managing Partner, Oakwood Green Africa, all other protocols observed. After all the products we have heard about and the opportunities that we have been exposed to from all the speeches given from morning up till now, honestly, I have no doubt, I've never had a doubt that we are actually on a journey to success as Africans. We just need to stay the course, keep the focus, keep working with our partners, yourselves, so SMEs, medium-scale enterprises, corporates, and together we should be able to do this. Would like to say thank you to the dynamic leaderships and enthusiasm of the executives of GEPA, the Ghana Free Zones Authority, the Ministry of Trade, AGI. There are quite a number of partners that we have worked with on this. We are so grateful for their collaboration, their support, and of those institutions. We are so grateful to you all for staying with us. This will not be the end of our engagement with you, as you have heard from Mr. Intong, from Mr. Edgar. It's not the end of our engagement with you. We intend for this roadshow to be a very different kind of engagement. I know I get a lot of comments, people saying that we come and listen to a lot of talk and it's a lot of, the vibe is always positive, there's always a lot of hope, but we don't get much at the end of the day. We don't intend for this to be one of those. We want it to be different, and we are working towards that. We are hoping that you come along with us, you just be positive about what we are trying to do, and then cooperate and collaborate with us. We'll come knocking at your doors after this roadshow, definitely. Some of you have heard from us before in times past, and we are still here, and we intend to be here in the next couple of years with you, and hopefully you will not be the same. So to the executives of Afreximbank who have been with us, who agreed to come on this journey with us, we are so grateful to you all. I'm grateful to my colleagues from Oakwood Green Africa. And once again, I'd like to wish all of you a safe journey back to your various homes. Hopefully we see some of you tomorrow. It will be a delight to have you, as Mr. Edgar mentioned, take you through Mansa, take you through Afreximbank. And let's keep working together. So thank you and have a lovely evening.
Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Cynthia Ero, our head trade advisory, Oakwood Green Africa Limited. All that needs to be said has been said. Certainly coming together is just the beginning. Staying together is progress, and working together is what will guarantee the success. This certainly is the beginning of greater things to come. We want to say thank you to you, Afreximbank, for your vision, for your leadership in supporting SMEs in Africa. Say many thanks to you, Oakwood Green, for your brilliance, your spark, which has birthed this bridge between the last mile and Afreximbank. On behalf of all the organizers, I'd like to say thank you to you all. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. But right now, let's do something special, shall we? Shall we take a photograph? We've made it to this end. Why don't we take a group photograph together? Wouldn't that be nice? And so let's all go to the staircase. We are going to take one long aerial shot, and we'll send it to the whole wide world that this is how we support African trade agenda, ensuring the last mile. Let's make our way to the staircase.
Eternal Africa.